Okay, today we are in the studio and we are looking at the 10 principles of good assessment and feedback. And this is the team presenting this, and and this is our class list. And then now, principle number one on presented by David Nicol on assessment talks about. Well, I'm stumbling because I don't see my full slide. Now, in introduction, effective assessment and feedback is essential component of teaching and learning because it facilitates the growth. And looking at principle number one, which it must be clear, I'll give it to Hloni to start with that.
Good day, everyone. Can you just put on my slide?
Okay, there.
This slide is all about the principle number one, which is clear purpose. Principle number one, assessment should have a clear purpose. The principle that assessment should have a clear purpose emphasizes the need for educators to define the goals and objectives of assessment clearly. A clear purpose ensures that assessment align with the intended learning outcomes and objectives of the educational program. And then it informs how educators design their instructional strategies, set clear goals, expectations for both educators and students. Educators note that they need, let me just check here. Continuing to the company mission is that assessment criteria should be explicit, and then assessment standard must be as specific as feasible to be useful. Students can realize what is significant and valued in the curriculum when assessment criteria are transparent and ambiguous. Once that is done, individuals can concentrate their attention on the most important learning objectives and analyze their own performance through self-evaluation. Memorake, on this particular slide here, everyone is on the slide on the bottom. I can't basically see some of the text here on the bottom.
Okay, it's self-evaluation and reflection. That's slide number one. Okay. And then that has covered principle number two, which is assessment criteria. All what it's saying here, criteria must be clear and unambiguous. It must be clear. That's it. It just follows on principle number one of clarity. And another thing that is very important with the assessment, other than being clear, it must be relevant. So looking at assessment principle number three, I'll call on Rose to talk about the
Thank you, Memreki.
assessment supports learning. Yes, assessment supports learning. So Rose will dwell on that.
Yes, I'll continue from there. Research has shown that students can take a deep approach to prepare for their tests, regardless of how difficult they are. So, in the other words, students can go beyond surface level memorizing and actively engaging with their material. So, this approach involves understanding concepts, making connections, and applying knowledge in context. We all know that assessment is a very critical part of the learning process, providing students with valuable feedback that can help them improve their performance. However, assessment has also the potential to support and enhance learning if it is used effectively. It can provide students with a clear understanding of their strengths and weaknesses and help them focus their efforts on areas that need improvement. It can also help teachers to identify areas where students are struggling and provide them with targeted support. When all of this is done effectively, assessment can be a very powerful tool for promoting and enhancing learning. However, it is important to ensure that assessment is used in a way that is valid, fair, and reliable. Finally, we can say that assessment data can be used to inform instructional decisions and targeted interventions. It is powerful that is a powerful tool that can be used to support students in the classroom and beyond. Thank you.
And Hura, assessment has to be timely. Can you dwell on that?
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Masejo. Mashejo. Basically, this principle emphasizes on the significance of delivering a timely feedback, of which is a very vital component in the field of education and evaluation. Basically, this approach is consistent with the idea of formative assessment and its significant impact on learning and student growth as well. So, the promptness with which feedback is provided is very critical. Feedback is more relevant and meaningful when it is offered as soon as soon as following the student's performance or an assignment or assessment. This allows the student to connect with their behaviors or the outcomes of the given assessment and can also afford them a room of improvement as well. Thank you.
And principle number 5 talks about peer and self-assessment. That will call upon Fifi.
Thank you, Ms. Merege.
What do you say
Principle
about
number
this
5.
principle?
Principle number 5 emphasizes the importance of incorporating peer and self-assessment within the educational framework. Instead of focusing on the students themselves and their attributes, the feedback emphasizes students' performance, their learning, and their behaviors that are within their control. Self-efficacy is significant because it positively predicts academic achievement and accomplishment, and it is linked to a deeper approach to learning, all of which are significantly correlated with effort and persistence with tasks. I will also be sharing significances of peer and self-assessment principle. The first one being focus on performance and behavior instead of solely concentrating on individual attributes of the students. This principle places emphasis on the feedback related to the students' performance, learning, and behaviors that they can control. Connection to effort and persistence. Self efficacy is linked to a deeper approach to learning, and it is also correlated with the efforts and persistence that students invest in their tasks. And lastly, peer assessment role. It is a component of this principle. It involves students evaluating their work of the other peers, as well as fostering a sense of responsibility and providing an opportunity for students to learn through assessing others' work and reflecting on their very own work. Thank you.
Okay, principle number 6. I was supposed to call upon Boniwe, but Boniwe is struggling with the network. But principle number 6 has to do with diverse assessment methods. Now, the diverse assessment methods we've seen as we've started with online learning, we've seen e-assessment happening, we've seen e-group assessment being submitted by students. We've seen students now in communication also going out to do videos, video calls, also, and also make a group collaboration meetings where they can talk and discuss the projects and also do projects on discussion boards. So we've seen a new diverse methods and alternative ways of assessing, including AI being at the center today of discussion about assessment. And on that note, I want to call upon the person who's doing assessment number 7, being Now, assessment number 7, it's looking at formative assessment, which has to do with continuous improvement. It's important in assessment, and Bonio is supposed to take on that. Okay, who was supposed to do number 6, guys? Okay, now
Bonnie is
principal.
actually supposed to be doing 7.
Okay, now principle number 6 has to do with formative assessment, which students should actively be engaged in assessment process. They should be aware of their learning objective and be encouraged to self-assess their progress. And student improvement is important. There's self-evaluation and checking if they are achieving what needs to be achieved. It's very important. And assessment there is a continuous thing in formative assessment. And principle number 8 has to do with group and peer feedback and assessment. We've seen AI making it readily available, readily available. And Selby, what's your take on that one?
Thank you for affording me an opportunity to actually present this principle. A peer feedback is considered to be one of the valuable principles of good assessment in education for quite several reasons, which it promotes active learning. And when students are giving feedback to their peers, they engage critically with the material and the criteria for assessment. These criteria for assessment, however, the instructor needs to make sure that he trains the students to actually critically or constructively give feedback in a respectful manner, which also helps the students to develop or to enhance their interpersonal skills, and it also reduces the risk of biasness. Because take for an example, if the lecturer doesn't have a good relationship with one of the students, that also might have a negative impact in terms of giving back their results or giving back feedback. But then if we have other students who are actually assessing other students' work, it makes it simpler because of most ideas or perspectives are being actually considered, and it also helps the students. If, say, for argument's sake, we're given an assignment, if students give a feedback timely feedback, it makes it easier for us to even see the areas where we need to improve before we can even maybe submit the work to the lecturer. And in overall, I could say that peer feedback, it's actually a powerful tool in the assessment process. Not that it only helps the students to improve their work, but it also fosters a culture of collaboration and active learning in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And we're looking at authentic assessment. Assessment has to be real. Assessment has to be authentic. Awesome CD, what is your take on that? We have Awesome City in the studio about authentic assessment. Assessment, guys, has to be authentic. Assessment has to be real. And assessment, you must ensure that you use the real world problems. And in the real world problems, a programmer will go to a company and provide a solution to what the company wants. Yes, Awesome City.
Looks like she's struggling with the network. Can you put slide number 9 so I can be able to present it?
Okay, that's slide number 9. Okay, that's slide number 9. Authenticity of the of your assessment. Now, my example, Cloney, of that is a programmer who goes and provide a company with a program that will maybe calculate or maybe capture say if it's a higher institution, capture student data, something like that. That is very authentic and it's very real. It can be used. It's a on-time solution for the company. So what is your take on that?
Okay, if you're talking about the principle number 9, which is assessment authenticity, we have it has to ensure that assessments are authentic and relevant. And yes, going to the real world context, authentic assessment should mirror situations or tasks that individual might encounter in their actual work or daily life. Relevant and meaningfulness. The content and task within an authentic assessment should be relevant and meaningful to the learner. Reflective of skills and competencies. Authentic assessment should focus on assessing the specific skills and competencies that are important in the given domain. If I were to add a bit on that, I would say that there should be fairness when you assess students. Authentic and relevant assessment reduce the potential for biased and discrimination in evaluation. No discrimination should be involved when you assess students, and each and everything that you teach them in class, they must be able to apply them in the real world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And Lindy, student engagement.
Thank you so much. Student engagement simply means that students also have to participate in the process, at least by asking questions or seeking feedback to understand. So it simply includes gamification, meaning that it helps to identify objectives and they can determine what they want to achieve through gamification, such as increased engagement, motivation, or their learning outcomes. They can define elements, at least by incorporating game elements like points, badges, leaderboards, and challenges into their content or activities. It also includes interactivity, meaning that they can engage by the use of interactive elements like quizzes, polls, simulation, and discussions to involve learners actively. There's also real-world context, like present information in a way that it relates to the real-life situations and encourage problem solving. And then lastly, we have collaboration, meaning they can encourage learners to work together on activities, projects, discussions, assessments to foster interaction and share knowledge, also to provide instant feedback to guide them and to understand their progress. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was the end of our presentation. Thank you for watching. But then in addition to this, let's not forget the use of AI in education has changed the game of assessment and inclusivity, and AI has mastered inclusivity, whereby we are now able to allow students with different languages. We are now able to provide a timely, promptly feedback, and the use of game. Look at how excited they are when they immediately see the results, as they are playing, maybe getting answers immediately. The moment of aha for students is there. So AI is a game changer. And we thank you for participating. Thank you for being there, guys. And thank you for watching, those who have joined us on YouTube.